Welcome to the CNC Side Hustle Show number 3. Man, I'm excited about tonight's show. Seriously, we've got our first ever special guest. We're bringing I called him a legend. You can call him a wizard. You can call him whatever you want. I'm going to introduce him here in a second. He's backstage waiting for us. But this is how the show is going to go tonight. If this is your first time, welcome. I'm glad that you are here. So we are going to have segments. So we've got 4 segments tonight. We're bringing back some fan favorites, but we've got a new one called Potholes. Yeah, I came up with that name. Think about swerving around potholes. So that's what that segment's going to be about. And then, we're going to wrap it up. We're going to put, I almost said his name. But we're going to put him, let's just say him, on the hot seat. So the way this is going to go, our Q&A is at the end. It's called Rapid Fire Q&A. We've got a moderator, B, tonight. Paul's at a fancy steakhouse or something like that. But we've got B here, which is probably the better option anyways. Curating all of our questions, and we are going to pepper Kyle. I'm going to be there to assist. I don't want to put too much pressure. Oh, I just said his name.
Yeah, you did.
I just said his name.
Surprise one.
Anyways, Q&A at the end. So any questions that you have along the way, we're not going to stop and answer them like traditional live streams, but we are going to consolidate them all to the end of the show. But first, before I introduce our guest tonight, we need to say thank you to our channel members. We're up to 11 channel members. This is our 3rd show. So we're doing good. We're doing fantastic, and I couldn't be more happy about these people's support, your support. I hope you're here tonight. So we've got Johnny Gardner, Technotan Australia, David Mercer, Gary Nixon, Monty Jones, Aaron Newton, Bill Walker, Earl Mahaffey, Net News, Ledger, Roland Glidden, and Ronald Jenkins. If you're interested in supporting this show, there's a button down below you can click. And not that button that you just saw, but you can click the button down below this video to learn more. All right, let's get into this intro and get our guest. Man, I'm so excited. Like, we couldn't have started with a bigger guest, in my opinion, in the CNC space. Seriously, he sells out shows wherever he goes. That's not even part of the intro, but that was really good. All right, so if you see me talking to anybody, Eric, my showrunner's off to the side. He doesn't have a camera on him, but I'm not just talking to myself or the wall over here. I'm talking to you, but he's here keeping me on track because Lord knows we all need that. So I'm going to read this because I prepared this statement, this introduction. Joining us tonight is a true CNC wizard. He is a full-time CNC educator and the founder of Learn Your CNC, where he teaches CNC enthusiasts how to master their craft. As a recognized Vectric master and beta tester, Kyle's deep expertise and approachable teaching style have empowered thousands, including myself, to significantly sharpen their CNC skills and confidently take on new projects. Kyle, I hope you don't hate me for this, but very interesting fact that I bet a lot of you don't know. Kyle, I recently discovered that Kyle is a karaoke legend with his signature rendition of the one-word hit, Tequila! There's a story there. You can ask Kyle about it. It doesn't involve tequila. It just involves the song. I want to be clear. But yeah, he's a karaoke master. I've known Kyle for about 3 years now. We first met at WorkbenchCon, and we've been talking CNC business ever since. We've even had, this is another interesting thing. We've even had a friendly competition using the original 20-year-old Vectric software. So if you didn't know, this year is Vectric's 20th anniversary. And at WorkbenchCon, they had this challenge to draw a shape and draw a letter and apply a toolpath. And I actually beat Kyle at it, which I don't know how. I must have cheated. I don't know how I did that because, let's be honest, Kyle's the real expert here. So let's get ready for insights, laughs, and a whole lot of CNC, pure CNC gold. Let's give it up for our first ever guest, Kyle from Learn Your CNC.
Hello.
Yay. We need like an applause, like a Where are you at, Eric, on that? Need like a welcome.
I forgot the karaoke mic tonight. I didn't know we were doing karaoke again.
I was like, you know what? I'm going to bring that up. And
I thought you were going to share the fun fact that we found out we share in common.
oh, what is this?
You remember the first concert you went to?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do remember the first concert I went to. I do remember. It was Britney Spears. Don't worry, I was like 8. And yeah.
Yeah, we found out we share that in common, but the difference is I had sisters that drug me to that concert. We found out you did not have sisters that drug you to the concert.
I did not have sisters. Come on, I was 8. You remember Britney Spears back in the day? She was like so innocent, and it's not modern day. Nothing, Britney, if you're watching,
Yeah.
no offense, I'm still not a fan, but yeah, you got me there. You got me. Thank you for bringing that up.
Anytime.
So who we got in the house tonight? Let's look in the chat and let us know where you're from. We've got some in here. We've got, I see some North Carolina. I see some California. I see some Mississippi, Maine. Yeah, let us know where you're viewing from. We got Tennessee, Oregon. I saw Corey in the house earlier. I don't know if he's still here. He is from Oregon. We got Canada here, Ontario. Kyle, where are you joining us from tonight?
Well, I'm originally from Pennsylvania, but I am in Toronto right now, actually, with my wife.
Nice. Toronto. This place I've never been.
It's a pretty cool city. Yeah.
Cool.
It's like a New York City in Canada.
A Canadian New York City.
Basically.
There you go. We got Colorado. We got like all the states here. LTX is here from Texas. Nice. Well, welcome everybody in. We've got a great show here. We've got 4 segments planned, like I said, and it's going to be a lot of fun. They're different. We'll see how Kyle does. No, there's no test at the end of this, Kyle.
I'm ready for it.
All right,
baby.
All right, what do you say? Let's get into our first segment. So welcome to How It's Made, the segment where Eric, our showrunner, has gone to the internet and picked a project that Kyle and I have not seen. And so you're putting us on the spot here, Eric, and Kyle and I are going to tell you how we would make it. Materials, toolpaths, strategies. And I'm interested to hear Kyle's approach versus mine. Want me to go first, Kyle?
Go for it.
All right. Okay. All right. We've got a box here. Oh, geez, Eric. Okay. He did not take it easy on us tonight. So it's a humidor. Is that what you're calling it? Okay. So cigars, humidor here. On the spot. So made out of some high-end woods, right? Humidor. And there's a traditional wood that they're made out of. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. But maybe mahogany. It looks
cedar, dark. I think.
Cedar, maybe.
But
definitely there's some traditional woodworking in here. I would make the box for me, like those miters with the joinery there. I would definitely do that traditionally. Now, all the interior parts, definitely I would CNC those. So I'm looking at like the top, the lid here, and that's definitely a pretty easy profile tool path with those inner slots there. Kyle, I'm interested to see how you would do that.
I would probably just draw some rectangles with radius corners, or you can just draw a straight line and run a profile path on it.
Okay.
Got those slots, depending how wide you want them in relation to your bit size.
Yeah, they probably look 1/4 inch, I would say.
Yep. And then those interior dividers, I would cut those with a profile pass. Looks like they have a little accent piece on the top for like a lid or something, or a little handle. Could probably notch those in there with the profile toolpath.
Yeah. Did you see that's interesting. You see where those the cross members are? there's
Yeah.
actually slots that those slide into.
Yep. I would do like a pocket toolpath there.
Yep. Yep.
Stuff like this, I actually like to 3D model in SketchUp, or if you use Fusion or something like that. I like to 3D model so you can see like how the parts all fit together, and then I like to take it over to Vectric to do all the toolpathing.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've
Definitely.
never done that before. I've used Fusion, but I've never used one and the other.
I like to use SketchUp because it imports directly into Vectric, so you can design it all in SketchUp and then just import it directly into SketchUp or into VCarve or Aspire, and it automatically lays out all your parts, and you can toolpath
That's
them.
really cool. What file type is that you
It's
import as?
a SketchUp file, which is a SKP,
Okay.
and that imports directly into Vectric. So that's pretty cool.
I learned something new. There you go. That's cool. Yeah, and so there's other different things like I don't know. I think that's probably maybe a humidity gauge in the middle or a temperature gauge. You can definitely pocket that out and inset that. So yeah, a lot of different strategies here.
Yeah, I agree with you though. A lot of the box work I would do more traditional. I'm a woodworker before I was a CNC guy, so that's just me how I would do it. But if you want to go all CNC, you can do miter fold joints and go crazy with the CNC if you really wanted to.
Yeah, cool. Well, like I say in this segment all the time, and that is how it's made.
That's how the cookie crumbles.
That's how the cookie crumbles. All right, we're going to head straight into our second segment here. Let's go. All right, bringing back the viewer favorite, the audience favorite game show. This is one that we've got the most requests for. This is the one we have the most interaction. And so here it is. This is how it's going to work. Eric, again, is the first time I picked all these out, and I'm like, it'd be a lot more fun if I didn't know what they were. I guess I'm a glutton for punishment, right? But so he's picked out some products here online. What we're going to do, audience interaction as well. If you've done this before, we're going to guess the price. So Eric's going to put a product up on the screen. We're going to guess the price. Again, Kyle and I have never seen this before, but whoever is the closest wins.
What do we win?
You can have whatever you want, Kyle.
Bragging rights.
Bragging rights. Well, I am 1-0 against you, so maybe you can. I
gotta redeem myself here.
Maybe you can redeem yourself. All right, so we got a sign here. That's cool. Layered sign. Looks like 3 different layers, some thinner wood, a lot of painting. Yeah. So let us know let us know in the chat what this retails for. Looks
like it might be laser cut. Could be CNC though too.
It could be CNC. Laser or CNC. I think the interesting thing about these is you can do either, but since this is painted, it's easier to laser cut, right?
Yeah.
Especially because cleaning up sometimes, let's just be honest. Sometimes cleaning up edges on plywood, if you don't have your feeds and speeds dialed in, or you're using a dull bit, like the cleanup sanding is miserable on stuff like this.
Yeah, I would also say I would have a cheaper price if I cut it laser rather than CNC, just because laser, if you have a CO2 laser, you can cut it pretty quickly out of some thin plywood, spray some paint on there, glue it all together.
Yeah,
pretty quick. Whereas something like this on the CNC router, you got to do all the profile cuts, might have to do multiple passes. Yeah, might have to do some sanding, cleanup work after, and then paint it.
For sure. Well, let's price this tonight for CNC router, just because it could change. Could change it.
Yeah.
All right, Kyle, I'm gonna let you go first.
I want to say around the 200 range.
Okay, 200. I'm gonna say 150.
Whoa, 84.
8408. This is probably laser cut.
Size too. Didn't really get a good reference.
Yeah, that's true. Who did anybody say 8408? Nice. You know what? So the interesting part about this is, and Kyle, let me know if you agree or disagree, is value is perceived, right?
Yep, for sure.
It's cool to see everybody throw out a different number because and I'm not saying like your number is what you would pay for it in particular, but it's like, okay, what is someone selling that for? And we come up with a range of like $50 to $400, you know?
Yeah. Depends
cool.
on the area you're in too. Some
Yeah.
people will pay more than others.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's hit the next one. All right, looks like we've got some. Is this? Forgive me.
Dungeons and Dragons.
D&D. Yeah. Some D&D game, like component. What do you call these? Component holders, storage holders. Yeah. Game box. There we go.
Look like they're pretty simple to make. Some pocket cuts and a profile, and some pretty cheap plywood. Probably the most expensive part is hardwood or the hardware on it.
Yeah, probably. So let us know in the comments. What do you think this is going for? All right, Kyle, since I went first last time. Yeah, he went first last time. I'll go first this time. Ooh, all right. Thinking about D&D players. They're passionate. This is a pretty niche item, right?
Custom on the top.
Yeah, Master David. So put someone's name on it. So personalization. I'm going to go $60.
That's pretty close to what I was going to say. I'll say 61.
Oh, are we playing Prices Right rules?
Yep.
All right. What else we got here? We've got a 110. We've got 100. Oh, someone said, okay, that's a good point. Does it come with the accessories?
Oh yeah, didn't think of that.
Yep.
That could be a upsell add-on.
Yeah, 65, 79. All right, Eric, hit us with it. 8302. What's up with like these 02s and 04s?
Is that with tax?
Yeah, it's with tax, right? Okay, so $83. Kyle, what's your thoughts on that?
I think that would be pretty high profit margin for this type of design. And you could probably take a full sheet of material and cut a ton of these out. And just assemble them all together, and then you can even engrave the top later. You can have them all ready to go and just engrave the top whenever they're sold.
Yeah,
people want it custom.
So the interesting thing about this, I agree with you, Kyle. Is the hinges are probably the hardware is the difficult, most time consuming and like costly thing here.
Yeah, you could probably buy a big bulk of it too if you're making a lot of them.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you don't even have to sand the pockets. Like, you just put this felt over it. Like, you know.
Got a down cut bit. You got a nice clean top edge.
Yep.
Throw some felt in the bottom. You can pre-cut the felt.
Yeah, pockets.
I like this.
That's
a fun one to pump out a bunch of them.
It really would. Really would. Cool. All right, Eric, I think you got one more for us. Oh, boy. Eric. Okay. All right. We got a table. I was not expecting a table. A cassette player or cassette tape.
Roughly 4 foot by 2 foot.
4 by 2, Eric's saying. That's the size. I got some hairpin legs there.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They're just hardware for the legs.
So, Kyle, real quick, while people are guessing. So what do you guys think this is worth? From a really high view, how would you approach this project from a design standpoint?
This one looks like a bunch of profile cuts and layered plywood, and then looks like there's a couple painting options here. You can paint it. The other one looks like some kind of probably vinyl sticker on the top there for the graphic work, and then maybe just a clear coat over top of it. And it looks like a piece of acrylic in the middle too, like a clear spot.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
But yeah, I would just layer this into different sections and profile cuts. It looks like maybe a pocket at the top there for the area where the graphic is. Yeah, and so it looks like a strip of pine or something at the top there for the the actual cassette tape itself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting when you start breaking these things down. Like this looks really complex, but it's actually like the file is pretty simple and the tool paths are pretty simple.
Yep.
Circles and squares and rectangles, profile tool paths.
Probably just all the time and labor it takes to put it together.
Yep.
And then the hardware for the bottom and acrylic and whatever the use for the graphic on top.
Yeah.
Those are probably the more costly parts.
Yeah.
Probably a whole sheet of plywood into this.
Yeah, probably. So what are you thinking? What are you thinking this is retailing for?
I would say 400.
Ooh, that's solid. I'm gonna say 499. Hang on. All right. Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
Ooh.
590. Okay. I can see that. Can't you, Kyle?
Yeah, I could see that.
Like it's a functional table. It's something that can be used. It's a man cave, office, conversation piece. Absolutely. Depending where you're at, I think it could be more. We have anybody close?
Trying to look at 675.
Got a 650 in there. Ooh, Lucky Duck said 550.
Also, if you take a look at that cool skateboard rack in the back too, that's CNC cut as well.
Yeah, it is.
You saw that?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's. I bet this person owns a CNC.
Yeah, looks like it.
Oh, nice. Well, good job on that. Who? How does everybody feel? Let us know it in the comments. Do you feel like you overprice things or you underprice things? Again, not saying anybody is like what they're asking is right, because there's so many factors, right? Like Kyle mentioned, location, material cost, labor cost.
Also, if you make things in bulk, you can buy better pricing for like the hardware. But if you're making one thing, then you buy the hardware at the full retail price. You can save when you do bulk.
Absolutely. Yeah. But then you also, let's take the other side of the coin. I absolutely agree with that. The other side of the coin is you better make sure that you either have the orders or are selling these, because otherwise you're sitting on inventory, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a balance there. I was actually coaching a guy, a student this past week, and that's what he did. He bought, I don't know, like 2 pallets of cedar fence pickets. He makes these flower pots. Does great work, great job. But he's like, it was a good idea at the time, but should have I bought this many? He's like, probably not. So it's always a balance there for sure.
Yeah, something like that table, that's where I would say like 3D design it in like SketchUp or Fusion, and then you can advertise the rendering before you actually make it. Try to sell somebody on the actual design first, and then when they order it, say, okay, now I got to make it, and just let them know that ahead of time you have to make it. But that's what it would look like.
Yeah, absolutely. So real quick, we've got our rapid fire hot seat Q&A coming up. So if you got any questions at all, drop them in the chat. And again, be our moderator tonight is curating those, is tagging those, starring those. And so if you got any questions specifically for Kyle, he's here tonight. Let's take advantage of that so he can answer your Vectric software, design, SketchUp, anything to do with CAD CAM. Specifically, Kyle is your man. So get those questions in the chat, and we'll pepper Kyle with some questions and see how he does.
Can't wait for that.
You're pumped. I know you are. All right. That one was fun. Let's jump into our next segment. All right, welcome to Potholes. This is the first time we've ever done this segment. I'm excited for it. So how this is going to go is we're going to share a couple different potholes that slow CNCers progress down, and then how some strategies how to avoid them or some solutions. So like I said at the beginning, picture like, you're on your CNC journey and you hit a pothole and it hurts and it slows you down. And so we're going to teach you how to swerve around those potholes, because there are some potholes out there, aren't there, Kyle?
Oh yeah, lots of potholes.
It's like I grew up in Michigan and the roads were horrible.
Oh yeah,
Like
same thing in Pennsylvania.
Okay, good. Same thing in Pennsylvania.
Anywhere where there's snow is usually bad.
Yes. So snow roads they get beat up.
Yeah.
So I'll go first. I would say the main pothole, or one of the big potholes that I see people getting stuck on is, and especially since I talk about the business side more, so I'm going to lean into that, of making and selling products, is focusing too much on the product. I hear all the time, it's just like, one of the main questions is, I don't know what to make to sell. Like, there's a lack of inspiration. There's a lack of knowing what sells. And it's like, in the same time, I also hear people say, like, if I could just make the perfect product, like, my products aren't good enough, that's why they're not selling. And that can be true, but what I found is that's rarely the case. So a way around this, if you're stuck, if you hit a pothole of like, and you're sitting there and you're frustrated, you just don't know how to get around. I like to lean back and do this. I don't know why, but it just makes sense going around the pothole. Is to take a step back and to think about who you want to make a product for. Because most of the time, it's not that your product isn't good enough. It's that you are sharing it or marketing it with people that aren't interested. But that doesn't mean that no one is interested. I mean, that could be the case. But if you make something that you like and that you're interested in, I can almost guarantee you there's someone else out in the world that shares that same interest. So it's less about the actual quality of the product. Quality, there's an asterisk here. Quality of products does matter. So we'll set that to the side. We're talking about quality made products. But perfection is not what sells. What sells is people's desire. Like, I want that. I need that, to the point of pulling money out of their pocket and giving it to you in exchange of value, right? Your product has to bring value to someone. So if that's you, focus on who you're making a product for, or who you want to make a product for, and make something that that aligns with their interest and that they see value in. That's my pothole. Kyle, you got a pothole?
Yeah, I have a few that I thought about. One, I would say, especially for people that I see coming new into CNCs, is they will order their machine. Let's say I ordered a CNC machine today, and a lot of times, depends where you order from, but a lot of times there's a lead time on those machines. Could be a few weeks, could be a few months. And people will wait until they get the machine, open it up, get all excited, put it together, and then they're like, okay, now how do I use this machine? That's, for me, is just a really inefficient way to do that, because then all that motivation and excitement you get right at the end, right at the beginning there, when you are getting your machine all together, it quickly goes downhill, because now you hit this roadblock and hit this pothole, and now you're set back. You got a flat tire and you can't move on right now. So what I would say, and what I recommend people, is learn how to use the software, how to make CNC projects. Like Andy was saying, pick what you want to make when your CNC comes, and get that all ready while you're waiting for the machine to come. There's a lot of time there waiting for that machine. Mm-hmm. So you should have a little head start before you get that going. So I would recommend just starting with, pick a software you want to use first off, as far as design software. It could be Vectric. I like Vectric. That's my favorite. I know Andy likes Vectric.
Yep.
Vectric is one of the most popular CNC CAD CAM softwares out there, especially for CNC routers. You can choose Carveco. You can choose Fusion 360. You choose whatever software you want. But once you choose that software, learn it as good as you can while you're waiting for it, getting your machine. Start designing simple projects. Don't get into, I want a custom 3D model, super awesome project, because your motivation is going to go downhill really fast. Start with something simple. Just put your name on a sign and carve that. Put your address on a sign. Make a sign for your side of your house. Start with all these simple projects. Each time you do a project, you're going to learn something from that project that you can take to the next project.
Yes.
And just slowly but steadily keep doing a more complex project every time. You're going to learn something new every time that you can apply to the next one. And then a shameless plug for myself is,
go for it.
A lot of people say they have a hard time learning the software because they're on YouTube. How do I do this? How do I fix this open vector on my project? Like basically every time they run into a pothole on their design, they go to YouTube, search for how to fix it. And I find that's a really inefficient way to learn, because you're starting over here, then you're over there, and then you're over here, then you're over there. It's just all scattered. So that's why I created my Learn Your CNC Academy, taking you step by step through the learning Vectric software. I got really good at Vectric, and I just was really passionate about it. So I started doing a training course teaching you step by step. And then I started doing weekly lives, answering everybody's questions, because there's always questions that come up. So that's one thing I would recommend if you really are serious about learning Vectric or learning your CNC software. Check out a program like that. You can join my course or whatever you want to do, but
Where
really learn it.
Yeah, where can they learn more about what you offer?
Yeah, just learnyourcnc.com, and that's my website. I have lots of courses on there and lots of different training options.
Cool. Yeah, I've taken. I haven't gone through your entire course, but I have gone through part of it, and I've also sat in a room at a Vectric conference and saw half the room raise their hand that they've been through your courses, and I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah,
So
we got quite a few in there.
Yeah, it was really good stuff. So, if you want to avoid, I know we call this potholes, but if you want to swerve around some potholes, Kyle's course is the place to go. You've got a couple different options there, and it'll save yourself a ton of frustration. Join the thousands of people that have taken Kyle's courses. And then I've got a code up here. Kyle gave me a code to share with you. You can save 10% using code BIRD10. And it's not like that expires tonight or anything, but I have that there for you to save 10%. Thank you, Kyle, for offering that
No
to
problem.
our audience. Cool. Sweet. Great pothole, by the way. Momentum, honestly, I really want to harp on that, is momentum's key, man. You got to have all that excitement. You spent thousands of dollars. Get small wins, and snowball that into making that cassette tape table.
Yeah. Some people will see that project and be like, oh, I want to make that. And then they'll start trying to figure it out, and they get really bad motivation because they keep hitting those potholes.
Yeah, because it's tough. It's tough. Yeah.
It's
For a
best
beginner.
to start out slow and build yourself on each project you make.
Yeah, fantastic. All right. Well, I know this has gone quickly, but we are on to our last segment. Welcome to Rapid Fire Questions. We've got Kyle on the hot seat tonight. Kyle, so I can assist you if you feel too much pressure. I don't want you sweating or passing out on me.
Don't worry, I do questions every week, so
I know you're an expert.
I'm ready for it.
That was a joke. It was a joke. We need more questions, though. We need more questions. If you've got any questions at all about any of the projects that we talked about tonight, or even on the business side, Kyle has a great business mind and understanding as well, and it'd be great to hear some perspective. I've got some questions here. If people don't want to jump in, I will gladly ask Kyle questions. But we want to have plenty of questions because we're gonna let this go on for like an hour.
Yeah, if we run out of questions, I'm just gonna start singing karaoke. So
Tequila. Oh, I love it. All right, let's get the first question up. I'll go ahead and read the questions, and then you
Okay.
can answer. All right.
Sounds good.
Brooks asked, how do I move a 3D below the modeling plane? 3D tabs are the issue.
Okay, this is a very wide open question because it's hard to answer exactly without looking at your specific issue. But basically, if you're trying to move below the modeling plane, you can generally take your base height of that 3D tab and give it a negative value. In version 12 or above, you can actually just click on it, the base height option in the 3D view, and just drag it down, and it'll actually go below the modeling plane. If you're doing a double-sided project, maybe that's what you're doing, why you want to do that. You might have to play with your visibility settings up at the top as far as seeing a double-sided view. That's caught me before, where it disappears when it goes below, but you just have to change that visibility setting. But like I said, it depends on what you're actually doing there.
Cool.
On how good of that answer is going to be for you.
All right. Well, you steered them in the right direction.
Yep.
All right. What do we got next? Joey Sawdust. What a name. I love that. Do 16th and 32nd inch tapered ball nose bits have their side angles accounted for in 3D carves?
Yes, they do. When you enter those bits into Vectric, it will ask you what that side angle is. And I actually have a video on my YouTube channel on how to enter tapered ball nose bits if you want to look that up. But yeah, those do come in account. So be careful and make sure you get those angles right.
Cool. Yeah, he says sometimes deep carving ruins thin top edges. Does that mean?
Yeah, you have to be careful if you go below your cutting flute height.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you can run into some troubles there. Sometimes you can fix it by creating an offset around your 3D model within the toolpath settings. But you do have to be careful when you go too deep like that.
Cool. All right. Fred asked, question, what features do Andy and Kyle would they like to see have added to VCarve Desktop or Pro?
Good question. So I am a beta tester, so I do talk with Vectric a lot, recommending. One time I recommended something and they put it in there instantly. I was surprised. They do take feedback.
That's awesome.
So it's always good to have a company like that will take feedback from their. You can go on their forum too and add features that you'd like to see or email them, but they are pretty good with the feedback. And version 12.5 is coming out soon, and I already see a lot of new features they added, some pretty cool ones.
Cool.
One thing I would say is it'd be cool to have like parametric based measurements that you can use inside of Vectric. I don't think we'll ever see that anytime soon, just because it's going to add a lot of complexity to the software. But also, I like the timeline feature in Fusion 360. Those are some cool things.
Yeah.
I don't think those will be in Vectric anytime soon.
Yeah, I've for first of all, for me, I think version 12, right? They had some simple. It's not 3D. Like parametric dimensions, but they did add some dimensions in version 12, right? You can easily like draw and add dimensions to like just measurement dimensions. Does that make sense?
So they had those measurement dimensions for a little while, but I do know in version 12.5 they're gonna have something like that is a little bit more parametric.
Okay,
just for the dimensions, not for the actual drawing.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Joey Sawdust again says, does Vectric handle tabs on 3D pierced carvings? I'm only up to chapter 12 of your course, so I know tabs are easy for 2D carves.
Yes, I do have a lot of 3D double-sided carves in my course that talks about that. They do handle it well. You just have to, if you're doing double-sided, you have to make sure you have a tab on both sides and they're aligned properly. But it does handle it well as long as the tab is big enough to hold the material that you're cutting.
Yeah, I had that happen before on the fishing lure that I made. It was a double-sided. It was two pieces that were two-sided carves. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
And tabs, I had to mess with those a little bit. They got me make sure they're aligned and on both sides.
Yeah, even if it's a 2D project, Like if you're doing a profile cut on both sides, if you don't have those tabs aligned, you're gonna have some problems when it cuts through one side.
Ask me how I know.
Yeah, don't worry, we've all been there.
Bob asks, how would you approach a side hustle business if you wanted to only work during the winter months and take the summers off? Keep customers interested and not having them feel like you quit. I'll let you want to go?
I have an answer for that. I would say make a product that only applies during the winter. And then in the summertime, that product doesn't apply anymore. So you're not going to have any customers during that time. I don't know what that product is, but I'm sure you can think of something.
100%. That's what I would say. And I've actually, I teach this in my course, the CNC Side Hustle. One of the strategies is there's endless selling strategies, right? But one of the things that I teach in there is to sell seasonally, even on Etsy. Like you can sell a seasonal product that, it's built in, like demand is, you align your product to when you want the demand, right? Yeah. And then that demand just goes down and then it picks back up again. So yeah, it's a great way to do it. Corey, what is the ideal tab size, location, and distance?
3/4, 2 inches to the left, and 3 inches up. I'm just kidding. So it all depends on the project and the material you're using. I find some materials hold tabs better than others. Personally, I like to stay away from tabs when I can, just because it's an extra step later that you have to clean up. But sometimes you can't avoid it. You will need those tabs to hold things.
Yeah.
And another thing to keep in mind, if you're doing solid wood, one thing I find, if you put the tab with the grain, they're more likely to break on you. A little bit of vibration or something could break those. So you do have to be careful. They are stronger on the end grain going across the grain. That's one thing to keep in mind. Another thing I would say is just test some scrap pieces of material, play around with the different tab sizes. I'd usually do mine like 3/4 inches long and about 1/8 to a 1/4 inch tall. And then I usually try to do at least 4 tabs on one part. It depends on how big the part is though too. So
here's a question for you, a follow-up question. Is there when you are adding tabs just in a simple profile 2D cut, right? Is there a standard size? Like does Vectric have a preset size of tab?
They just have whatever's there when you start it, but it's like a default value.
Yeah.
Once you change that value, it's going to remember what you put in there last.
Okay.
So I don't remember what their default value is, but like I said, I usually do like 3/4 to if it's more of a material I'm afraid is going to break, like an MDF or I don't know, maybe a composite material or something.
Ply, yeah.
Yeah, even plywood or something. I might make it a little bit bigger just to be safe.
Cool. A lot of tab questions tonight.
Yeah, wasn't expecting that.
All right. Patrick asks, can Vectric put a search option in their tool database?
Sure, they probably could. I've heard that feature requested before. One thing I would say, this could be another pothole, is people that download these huge databases from like a tool supplier, and then they have 100 tools in their database that they'll never use. Maybe they use 5 of them at most. I would say delete all those ones you don't use. Only keep the ones you do use in your database. That's really going to reduce all of that confusion. There's so many people I've helped with their tool database. They just have hundreds of tools, and I say, how many of these tools do you actually use? And there'll be like 4 of them. And I'm like, why do you have these 95 other ones?
Yeah.
And they just, I don't know, I just downloaded it all. So I was like, yeah, get rid of all those, and then you don't have to worry about searching. You can always put them in later when you get that tool, but only keep the ones you actually, or just put it in a separate group with the ones you actually have. Then they're easy to find.
There you go. Cool. Lucky Duck Woodworking. Will 12.5 have guidelines specific to each sheet?
I can't release those features yet. You're going to have to wait and see.
All right. You have to wait and see. Les, in VCarve 11, so we can talk about this one.
Yes.
When carving is finished, how do you set the return to home height to higher level so it doesn't hit the piece I'm carving?
Yeah, that's in your material setup on the toolpath side. There's a button at the top that says setup. And then all the way at the bottom of that form, there's going to be a safety Z height, basically. Also, there's a home position there. That home height, you're going to go in the Z value. You could set it up higher. That way, it will raise higher at the end and at the beginning. You have to make sure you don't set it too high, and then you're going to go out of your Z limits. But that would be that thing. And then in version 12, they have what's called keep out zones that allow you to avoid hitting things as well. So that's another thing you can look into.
Yeah, those keep out zones was a cool addition.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So Gary asks, any chance Vectric can add project variables saved to the project, similar to T?
He's referring to T as in thickness. They have variables.
Yep.
They actually have other variables, and you can make your own custom variables. Most people don't know that. That gets into a little bit more advanced, but there's what's called document variables, and you can find that in Vectric. They have where you can set up your own variables if you wanted to. So you can really customize them.
Okay. All right. Gerard, why do I need 3D tabs and 2D tabs, and how to avoid cutting out 3D tabs when cutting out a project?
Okay, so 3D tabs are going to be more when you are... So this gets a little confusing because in Profile Toolpath, there's a 3D tab option. That just makes your bit... A 2D tab is going to go cut straight across, raise up, go over, come down, and go straight across. So it's like 2 dimensions. 3D is going to come across, ramp up, ramp down, and then go across. So it's a little bit faster to cut. That's one 3D tab option. And then another 3D tab is an actual 3D model. Put in what's called a 3D tab. They have the same name, so it's a little confusing. But if you do, you could avoid cutting those by adding a 2D tab on top of it. It's a little confusing. Gerard, I know you're in our training platform, so look at our double-sided projects. We do have a lot of lessons where we show how to avoid cutting through those.
Cool. Eric asks, what are your thoughts on diversifying? Have multiple machines for different products. I have an X Tool D1, F1, and Shapeoko Pro.
Yeah, I like that. It depends on what you're doing, though. Are you trying to make money? Are you just wanting to keep your machines all busy at the same time? If you're trying to make money, you have to make sure it's going to be profitable for you to add that tool in there and have different machines running at the same time. But if you're just doing it for fun, then if you want to go for it and you have the money, go for it. But I think it all depends on what your end goals are with that.
So I'll add to that. 100% depends what your goals are. But I think the average person I come across with a CNC hobby or, trying to make money, a side hustle, is they are diversified too much. Their product, like chasing a product and then chasing another product and chasing another product. And you have all these ideas and they end up getting overwhelmed. And what happens is you only have so much time and energy. And if your goal is to make money, you need to pick one and go at it, and doesn't mean stick with it like forever, but it means you need to give it the time and energy it needs. And then pivot, take what you learned, snowball it. What do you think?
Yeah, I heard a really good analogy on that. Basically, let's say you're on an island and you're trying to get to another island, and that other island is your goal you're trying to get to. If you build a bridge and go right to that island, you're going to get there pretty quickly. But if you build 10 bridges at the same time, all those bridges are going at the same time. You're going to it's going to take you forever, or you're just going to run out of steam to get to that other island. So focus on that one bridge, get over there, get that goal, and then work on another bridge.
I love that. Love that. Stevie, will AI become a bigger part of Vectric software in the future?
It's too early to tell now. I know Vectric, I've talked to them about AI. Their developers are using it and playing with it and seeing different ways it can integrate with Vectric. They don't want to just throw it in there right away and have problems. So I'm sure it probably would become a part of it in the future, but know you can use Vectric with AI. I have a video on my YouTube channel on how you do that. So it is still possible. You can still use it. They're just two separate things right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. I think a good way to put it is if a tech company is not playing with the idea of incorporating AI, then they're going to be left behind.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. They should use it in some way or form.
Yep. So Ray asks, what are the odds of adaptive machining being added to Vectric software? Great one.
Yeah, that's a big one. People like basically that's going to be improving the quality and the speed and efficiency of your toolpathing. And I do know there's next version coming out. They do have some updates on some faster toolpathing, but I'm sure as more updates come from them, they're going to be improving that more and more.
Great. All right. This is our last question. All right. Sean says, is there a CAD software that is non-subscription that can export a cut list? Oh, interesting.
So I know Vectric cannot really export a cut list. It does not have a subscription. But one thing I would recommend is actually, I can't really recommend it anymore because it does have a subscription now. But SketchUp used to be able to do that for free and export the cut list. I know the 2017 version is still free. If you can get the cut list plugin for that, you could still do all that for free without paying for anything. But they do have a paid version now. But I think you can still get around that for free with SketchUp and a plugin called Cutlist.
Nice. Yeah, Eric, you can go ahead and put that up. Thank you, Joey, for the $20 super chat. Appreciate that, man. Thanks so much for being here, and I will actually I had pizza tonight.
Nice,
didn't we, Eric?
There you go.
He knew it in his head. Thank you, Joey.
Our next conference, you're gonna have to get us a pizza.
All right, yeah, I'll buy you a pizza if you sing karaoke.
Oh, okay. It'll work for it, huh?
Kyle, I've got one for you. This is a really interesting question. Last question here. That I'll answer too, but I wanted to see how you answer this first because you're in a unique position to see what everybody's making, right? You've seen thousands and thousands of CNC projects being made, right? So what is the strangest or most unique thing you've seen someone make on their CNC?
Ooh, I should have came prepared for this one. Let's see.
I know I should have asked you ahead of time, but or let you know this ahead of time. But this is you want me to give you some time to think?
If you have something to fill the space, I could take a little bit.
I do. So there's a couple things that I've come across because I'm in a similar position, right? I see a lot of what people are making and selling, and so there's been some odd ones. One, if you're in my Discord community, we've talked about this one. Okay, there's an Etsy shop out there that and a CNC guy. He's also on Instagram that makes BDSM like sex stuff. It's not my thing, but if it's yours, it's cool. But just think of like a charcuterie board with, holes machined in it. And, just it's a little spanking paddle,
I was actually going to say that. I've seen some X-rated stuff people made with CNCs. That's probably the most strangest thing I've seen.
Yeah.
But,
none
of my students I've seen that from, though.
Okay. So you heard it here. Kyle's groups are rated PG-13.
No. Yes.
Yes, PG-13. No, so another one I've seen, Kyle, not that was really interesting, and it is sort of CNC related, but not 100%, but still maker related. So I didn't know this was a thing, but they're women. It's a thing to get jewelry made out of their breast milk. And so I had a guy in my community that, I can't even say this with a straight face, but because it's just so odd. Nothing wrong with it at all. But women would send him their breast milk their breast milk, and he would like mix it with epoxy and make jewelry out of it and send it back. And that was part of his business.
Wow. Never heard that before.
Yeah. So I share these things because literally, like, I always say that what we make is limited by our imagination. It really is. With these tools, with CNC routers, CNC with lasers, 3D printers, between all of them, our mind cannot, like, if you can think it, you can make it.
Yep, for sure.
And
I think that's what people get hung up on a lot, is coming up with those ideas.
Yeah.
Original ideas. It's hard to think of this.
It's super hard. Super hard.
Yeah.
So Kyle, man, what a show. We came up on an hour here. Thank you so much for being a brave guest on our first show here. It was a pleasure having you. And, you know, I attribute that to our friendship, and we've known each other for a while.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you trusting me to have you on.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, and I had lots of fun. I'll have to have me back on at some time.
Yeah, we definitely will have you back on. Again, if you're interested in learning Vectric, learning your software, check out Kyle's courses. You won't regret it. Save you a ton of time. If you want to jumpstart your CNC side hustle, I've got a course called the CNC Side Hustle, and you can check that out as well. And it's all this stuff is linked in the description below for you to check out. So, Kyle, as I always say, this is kind of my sign off. We can say it together. So I say, now it's your turn to go make something cool. Ready on the count of 3?
Okay, ready.
All right. Now it's your turn to go make something cool.
Oh, I was a little early.
You didn't count to 3.
See you guys.